Hey everybody, welcome to my hobby desk. So I wanted to make another video on how I do my speed painting or slap chop, if you will, and why this is, I don't know if you want to call it something different, because it uses a variety of methods, but I believe I've got it figured out where you really honestly get your one coat solution. So now it's time to move on to the underpainting. I use a combination, so I want to cover everything with the gray with the sponge, and then I want to edge highlight and hit all the high points with the dry brush. And the combination of the two has a really good effect where you have like nice gradients on the high points and really dark shadows. So for painting, you always want to test, and I've gotten used to using gloves to test. And also you want to thin this paint, so you want to make sure that there is some moisture involved, and then when you press this on, you want a nice consistent flat layer. If it's too splotchy, you have too much water. If it's not coming off, then you have too little paint. Like all those kinds of things that you can do to figure out what's up with it. And then I get a pretty healthy amount to start off with, and that's kind of the consistency that I want. And we'll start with the base first, so it'll be easy to see. And I'm just going to support with my finger on the back, and all I'm doing is just tapping it on there. There you go. That's it. So there, if you notice, he's speckled. That means I have too much water and not enough paint. So I'm going to squeeze out a little bit more water, and I'm going to grab a little bit more paint. Test it again. There. Much better. And it doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to go back with the dry brush and hit up all the high spots. So I have a sponge here that I use to clean off my brushes when I'm done painting. And but what we're going to do is use it to moisten up the dry brush. And even though it's called dry brushing, you do want to have a level of moisture. And all I typically do is just get some water on my finger and dab it onto the sponge, and that's enough to moisten it up. And then again, you can wick off the excess. So the kind of the parameters you're looking for is cool to the touch, but doesn't leave water droplets behind. But I have another metric that I use. I don't know if anybody made it up, but this is how I do it. Is say I want to dry brush, and for this part, Bold Titanium White from Pro Coil is a really solid white, and it's really good to like, compared to Army Painter, like different paints have different consistency. So this is more gooey and this is more fluid. So anyway, and plus this is like one of the best whites, and that's what we want to happen. And I'm gonna drop some on. So of course I want my brush to be moist, not wet but moist. But my metric for this is I work the paint into the bristles, and when you guide the paint along, if it's all together, you're good to go. But if it starts to come apart and you start seeing individual strands, it's getting too dry. And let me show you what that means. So let me remove a lot of the paint, like the amount of paint that I want to remove. So now that it's dry, see how it's better together than it is, or when I'm at dry brush consistency, it's still pretty moist. And then when I go to dry brush onto my fingers, I can tell that it's going to do a really good job. So again, we'll start with the base. And you can stipple, but mostly you want to go against the grain of whatever you're painting. So like this wire here or tube here, I don't want to like trace it. I want to brush against it. And the other part is that you want to, I'm just going to hold this like normal, I guess. You can, like choking up on the brush and choking back, you can be much more delicate with it if you choke back on the brush. And we want to get this stuff as bright as we can. Just like that. Okay? And let's just go through it. So I mean, you could do things. I think this was another Juan Hidalgo's kind of like guides, and I was just kind of messing with it. But speed paints, especially here, would dry like super duper fast. And these are good results, but it took like multiple coats. I wanted a 1-coat solution. That's what they said. And I was like, you have to be able, like there has to be a way to get it. So I tried to be observant about what was wrong, where you wouldn't have to like do multiple coats. You know, keep the vibrancy of the speed paint without thinning it down too much. That was going to be tough. There's like, they're really runny. So if you tap, like you could flood areas, so you would have to thin them out and like dab off. So it's like kind of defeating the purpose of the speed paint. They would dry super quick. So if you would paint something and then like not finish on the other side and start painting over it, it would rip up. So obviously I needed some sort of retarder in it, and I needed to kind of mess with the flow where it needed to be able to have enough time to level out, but also be thick enough where when you apply it, you have control of the paint on the model. And what I tried a bunch of different potions that would kind of accomplish that, but what I found out to be the best is this potion. And this potion is a 1/4 War Painter retarder. And then airbrush medium, I have 2/4 or 1/2. And then the rest, the last 1/4, is just distilled water. And that's for the potion. Now this potion, you only use 1 drop of it. The real all-star is this. So there's retarder in this, and then this is the real all-star. So the Liquitex, this is the retardant slow dry, and this stuff's really gooey. And if you mix this in with your speed paint, it dries slower in addition with the retardant, but it also thickens it up to the point, but also keeps it just gives it volume, I guess, gives it like body to the speed paint. So where you put your paintbrush, that's where the paint will just stay, and it still has enough viscosity that it will flow into the recesses, but you just have to give it a little more time. The next bit is where we actually paint the model with the speed paint. Shake it up, and then I have on these little rubber things. I just apply it, I just fill it up. So as far as brushes go, I have been using this. So they say that there are these, like, speed paints are natural hair killers. So I thought maybe if I tried these lining brushes. The reason why you can get away with the line brush is because you don't need to do a stroke. It's dry, so it's splitting, but you don't need to do a stroke, but you just need to touch the area, and it just applies the speed paint. All right, so that being said, we have that. Oh, one last tool I use. So Flamey on his channel, it looks like he uses one of these silicone tip molding, like, you know, modeling brushes or modeling tips to mix his paint, and I've been doing that. But you can also use the end of your brush where you just dip it in and then spin it and then, or stir it and then clean it off. And my vocabulary is super good today. We're gonna start with pallid bone and hit anything, I think, like any teeth or bones or skulls or whatever we can find. And also speed paints, you know, this stuff settles out, so you want to shake it really well. So there's usually a ratio, and I'll do like 3 drops, and that's any time I use the speed paint, and usually that's enough to get me through. But things that, like, for instance, this guy has green armor, so I'll probably do 6, so I'll double the amount. Another thing with speed paints is the tips get nasty, so every time you get done using it, I always wipe them down really quick. And then we apply 1 drop of our potion. Oh, let me mix it. And then we take, I just get a dollop on the end and apply it and spin it, you know, and stir it in. And this might be a little too much, and if it's too much, like it's starting to lighten up. But usually the guide is like when you stir it up and it starts to pull up, that means you're good to go. And then for loading the brush, you know, I get some moisture in the brush, and then I usually try to wick it off with a paper towel instead of my mouth for this, because I don't want to add water to this. Remember, everything matters. Everything you do matters. Like, you can contaminate things really easily. The patient is ready, doctor. All right, so for instance, we have the teeth on here. Let's reload the brush. Wick off just a little bit, and I don't know if that's in focus for you. Another tip for new painters is that when you watch paint videos, they are sped up, so their brush strokes are actually a lot slower than what they look like. See how it doesn't flood everywhere, it just sticks to where it's supposed to go. And I'm just kind of edge highlighting it. Again, I don't have any glasses on or anything, and I have this quite a bit away from my face, but just because I know I have all that control with the paint now, I'm not too worried about getting it everywhere. So here I've overdone it some, bad angle. So I'm gonna just, you have time to work with it, so just give it a second to work with. All I'm doing is just wicking up the excess, and we'll give that a minute to dry, so we'll work somewhere else. There, and as you can see, the metal has all the different, you know, has all that range. I don't have to do a wash on this. The silver needs a wash. The silver is really opaque, and I mean, it's awesome. I really like the the silver. All right, so here's the ultimate test. Is we have these little details. Let's see how well this little Kolinsky brush does. Pretty good. So I'm going to add a drop of the potion to this and stir it in because I've been using it for quite a while now. And here is where we get a preview of the big flat areas and what you can do with them with this kind of concoction. Oh, I see. It's kind of like part of his body. So I'll just kind of blend in that. I see. It's also clear now that it's gross. Now I have like it's still like there's still motion in the paint, and I have time to help this, so I can push this around still some and add some to dark, add like a little bit of shadow. And then you just take a little bit of water and you can feather that line. That's it. See? Okay. So I'm gonna load up my brush a little bit more for flat areas, and this is probably the gut where you guys really want to see how well this works. And when you overload it, you just want to push it everywhere that you can get it to push. Now there is a point where you don't want to touch it. Like if you notice like you don't like an area, and it's at that point where it dries, or it's starting to dry, then you don't want to touch it, because then it will act like speed paint. So as you see, I have some time to work out some of the there's too much, but like on this side it's already starting to do it. So even with all that retarder in there, it still dries crazy fast. So, and also another thing is I'm gonna add another little drop of this stuff. There we go. Sorry, I'm got up by my face. Like, you're still gonna have to work fast, but for the most part, it'll look pretty decent. Looks pretty good. So I'm just gonna wash these brawn pieces here. Like I said, I normally, like on the other ones, I didn't do the trim. But this one, since I had messed with it, I'm going to just kind of get it to tie in with itself. You can blend, you know, the shadow. Like, doing all the little details sucks ass, but the green actually goes really, really fast. And I'm doing 6 drops here. And I used algae green for these guys. But this is always, you know, very satisfying for me because this is the part where everything comes together. And you could do it the opposite way where you do the green first, but I like doing the details first because it helps me stay true to being tidy. Like, I don't want to mess, like, now that I have this established, I don't want to mess up what I've got, so I have to be more careful. Alright, so here, I didn't wick off my brush very well, so I'm going to use the fingers to paint, like to get most of the paint, because I don't have to be very tidy with that. And then for this area around the details, I got just the perfect amount to fill in on the brush. There we go. Alright, and the final boss. And just like any other speed painting, like, you want to work in sections. Just with this method, you have time to fix things. You have time to, like, leave and come back. Oops, I accidentally hit the front here, so I'm just going to knock it out. Okay, I'm going to pull down the excess. Get back to work on the back. Oh, so I've been doing, like, leather straps on the back. I just like how it looks. Just add something unique to my critters, I guess. There you go. That's one coat solution. I'm not going to do anything to it. And I have edge highlighting, I have darks, I've got everything that I need, and it looks just fine. I don't have this perfected yet. This is kind of the start. Like, I used a little bit of extra fluid on this one, and you know, I could have done a better job. Undercoating and all these kinds of things. So this stuff's more expensive. It's the Loctite Ultra Liquid Control, and it works pretty good. First up, this guy. And for these, if we can, try to wiggle them out of their predicament, if you will. So I'm just gonna add a little bit here and a little bit on this. There we go. And now he lives here. Oh, what a bro. So there's your miniature painted up one coat solution. I'm not going to do any washes or anything. The last thing I'm going to do is, because I didn't do any like shadow work, I'm just going to hit it with an airbrush to do shadows. But other than that, that's as far as I'm going to go with this. Like, I have little things that, you know, like he has a lens on his eye. I'm going to paint separately. I'm going to do that with opaque paints. And what else do we have? Yeah, so this is my fourth guy using the method. I mean, you know, they have lenses. I'm going to paint, but though, you know, I'm not taking, like in other ones, I'm not going to be taking them away for 5 hours and I could come in like, here, all you have to do to fix it is paint it for 5 more hours. So I think it's plenty good for what we're doing. All right, and I honestly find this like a super enjoyable way to paint, and it's always fun to watch all this stuff come together. Yeah, see, this stuff always looks really good. I think my underpainting just sucks. You can see like white, like lighter paint popping through. There we go. That's it. One coat solution. All right, thanks guys.